Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? This is Out of the Fog, a local matter show that goes right across the province and beyond. Tonight, we have Tanya from the Women's Center talking about empowering them, a free e-course. We have Cassandra and Nick talking about Brain Injury Awareness Month. And of course, where would we be without our first guest up? His name is Robert Greeley, Greels Media. He is a great dude. Just met him. Can't wait for you to learn his story about storytelling. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
We're here at the Rooms finishing our second season of Sharing Our Cultures. This is the place where you get to meet amazing individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds who are making significant contributions to our communities. Join us for Sharing Our Cultures on Rogers TV Channel 9.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog. It's your boy DC, and I'm hanging out with the best of the best tonight. It's the second last show of the season, and I have the one and only Robert Greeley. How are you doing?
I'm good. A little disappointed I didn't get the late night treatment of being able to walk in and sit down.
I know, it's the
music.
claps we wanted.
However, I'll forgive it
just this once.
Just this once, but
Thank
also
you.
the fact that you got me in right before the season ended. I appreciate that a lot.
Well, I mean, I wanted to really build to the climactic moment, and so I had to bring out the big guns.
I don't know about that, but
when we met, it was interesting to me because in the arena of digital and marketing and storytelling, that's where I live. And so whenever I come across somebody who seems to really have their next levelness together, I'm always impressed. Next thing you know, we're chatting back and forth. Next thing you know, you're here because we have so many shared interests, media and hosting and storytelling. I want to ask you, where did your love of storytelling and presenting stories and narratives, digital or otherwise, come from?
So funny enough, I was in grade 3. Robert Munch is obviously a huge childhood author.
Yeah.
And, you know, that grade 3 mindset, it was just like, okay, hey, we got the same name. I want to be an author. My third grade teacher actually told me, she's like, that's not a real job. Don't go down that route. And, you know, to an extent, there's probably some merit to the statement. But other than that, it just like over the time, it really did evolve into just a love of storytelling. And then, you know, as time goes on, you know, grade 3 was a while ago, right? So now you're looking at more social media, storytelling, broadcasting, everything like that. And yeah, it's funny, very much. Just having the same name as Robert Munch really just kind of clicked, and I was like, I like this kind of career path for myself, and so I took a leap of faith, I guess, or stubbornness, whatever you want to call it. And who knows, maybe if they had said, hey, go for it, like, it'll be great, you'll make millions, maybe I was like, I'm not that interested in this anymore. Like, it seems too easy or something like
That's
that.
hilarious.
Right?
So, you might have went into something more challenging, like just say trying to be a broadcaster of sporting events. Oh, wait, you did that. Tell me all about that.
Well, my love for sports has always been, you know, I started playing soccer when I was 3. The sporting community is something, you know, really incredible. The people that you get to work with, just from the athletes to the coaching staff, it varies between the sports, right? But the guys and everyone you're going to meet is just absolutely incredible, right?
It's passion driven.
It is, and it's very rare that you collectively have a group of people who are just continuously motivated to the same goal, like winning. Funny enough, I met one of your graphic designers here this evening, and he went to the University of Guelph, and I didn't talk too much about it, but Guelph is a big football rivalry for the University of Ottawa, which I'm an alma mater. That's where I worked for the football program for 4 years, 3 seasons, and there's something special about going into a community where like nobody wants you to succeed, right? We had our team breakfast at a hotel the morning of our game against the Griffins when I was at U Ottawa. It was my first ever game. And the hotel manager actually came in with her Griffin football hat on and just started shouting out like, go Griffins, kind of like bombarded into our team breakfast kind of thing. And anyways, our coaching staff were just like, okay, see you later kind of thing. And we got back to business and we had a chuckle out of it. And like that kind of environment, like it's very special, right? Because again, like you go in, you know, shout out Lewis Ward, field goal masters with the Ottawa Red Blacks there now. We went back and forth, double overtime, field goal after field goal, and then, of course, the Canadian University rules and everything like that. Their kicker missed, Lewis, right down the middle like always, and we won in double overtime, and that was my first ever game with the GGs. Just working, you know, in my kind of like social media role. So like that, you know, hopefully that can kind of set the pace of like a little bit of like what the environment's like on the road. And again, when you're collectively with a group of people like that, just going for the same thing, it's special. So yeah, it molded from being a little bit of like, okay, I want to broadcast, I want to talk about these things, because that was essentially how I got involved with that football program. Being from Newfoundland and Labrador, our province still isn't as well in advance within the sport of football, right? Like I didn't have the option to play like youth football growing up, so I was just like, oh, let me try and understand this sport a little bit more by just like getting involved with the team. Kind of saw a gap there, and yeah, it was definitely really glad I did it. I mean, it was one of the staples of my university experience.
That's amazing. And so, you know, fast forward into a career in public relations and communications, and may I say, 10K today on TikTok. Yeah. I mean, you know, TikTok, for anyone who is in the TikTok universe, it's like I can creep all day, but creating content freaks me out. So like, talk about creative courage. And we have 2 minutes left, and I want to cover a lot of stuff. So what do you think?
Do what makes you happy at the end of the day. And as cliche as that sounds, like it's very much just like, if you love it, like it doesn't have to be creating content or anything like that. Like every industry has this creative element to it, right? Like architecture, designing buildings, you know, working in the culinary industry, like there is this art aspect in every single field, right? So just finding something that you love to do and really investing all your time into it and executing on it. Because if it fails, you're still going to be fine with it. And for the most part, everything you do is going to fail. In 5 years, if I'm looking back on the stuff that I'm doing today and I'm not somewhat embarrassed by it, like, you know, it eventually will fail one of these days, right? Where I'm like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have made it that much better, right? So, yeah, just kind of keeping things like that and keeping it light and just doing it and being happy and putting stuff out there that you either personally like believe in, you know. And again, whether that's a video or like a dish you're making or an art project, anything, right?
Yeah, no, looking at your content, to me, you know, creative courage is something that we talk about a lot here on the show. And Elling Lean actually is the one who really brought that idea into my life, and I'm so thankful. And further to that, daring greatly is another expression that I've clung onto so much in the arena of, you know, sort of like motivation and sort of self-help. And being brave enough to tell a story, I think, is the reason why I was so excited to bring you here and just to meet and to have a chat around social media and digital storytelling and what led you into that arena. What's next for you?
Right now, I'm just trying to build my media company. So essentially, what I kind of noticed through like a lot of these short form videos is we've been able to drive a lot of traffic for businesses, especially local ones in Newfoundland. And you know, that's something I take a lot of pride in, right? And you know, kind of getting the feedback after from some of these video, because I don't tell these businesses that I'm going and like I'm filming XYZ there. I'm just kind of going like, here's my day, here's how I spent my day, and like it just so happens to be picking up, you know, this product from this business. And so when the video comes out, you know, every now and then like a business will kind of reach out, and because you can only tell so much from like the comments and views and all those numbers, but they take it a step up and come back and just actually tell you about like, hey, you know, we had to hire on a second person for this weekend because we just had too much traffic and like so many people were coming in and purchasing products. Thank you so much. And like those things are really special, right? So like to kind of notice that and be like, okay, you know what? There's still this need for a lot of like social media advertising and everything like that. So that's essentially what I'm trying to build this media company around now.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll be keeping you in mind with the work that I do, but you don't need my help.
I appreciate
Guys,
that.
check out Greels Media. Google them, follow them on the TikTok, get them on the gram. Amazing storytelling, and that's what we're here for. This is Out of the Fog, and we'll be right back after this break.
It all started when I racked up some serious debt. Interest payments were going up, creditors were calling. Janes and Noseworthy came up with a plan. Knowing that the phone was going to stop ringing and that I was not in this alone was a huge relief. Bankruptcy or a consumer proposal or whatever help you get is not the end. It's just the beginning. A chance to start again with knowledge and support and people in your corner. Are you ready? Get out of debt. It's okay.
Learn more about Leah's story at janesnoseworthy.ca.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog. And before we go any further, where would we be without our boy Don, who is behind the camera right now, making sure everything goes right, volunteering, loving you. Thank you so much. But let's come back in, because this segment is all about, there he is. There he is. Hey. Thank you, Don. This segment is about something very important. It's a project that I feel very lucky to know so much about. Thank you to the Women's Center. And I'm hanging out with my friend Tanya. What's up?
Hi, this is it. Hanging out with you. Thank
Well,
you.
here we are.
Yeah.
Tanya, I want to ask you about your work, which, as discussed leading into this hang, has been so rewarding for you so far. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Sure. So I have a new role at the St. John's Status of Women Council, or Women's Center. My role is training innovator, which is a brand new role for them. And it is all about getting the folks in the community to do an e-course that they created recently back in November of 2021.
That's right.
Called Empowering Them.
Right. Empowering Them is an e-course around interrelationship abuse, how to prevent it, how to spot it. Tell me what you know.
Okay. So yeah, Empowering Them is an e-course on gender-based violence. So before we get any further, let me just take a second
you read my mind.
Yeah, so gender-based violence, what is it? Gender-based violence is basically any harm that is directed towards a person because of their gender identity, or their gender expression. And it's where the other person uses dominance or control or manipulation over that person. So it is a violation of human rights. It's a total abuse of power, and it happens to over 50% of the women and non-binary folks in Canada. So that's a big percentage. So yeah, this course is for everybody. So it is for everybody in the community. It's for people who want to check in with themselves. It's for people who want to kind of do that radical community care. Empowering Them is for empowering everybody in the community. Yeah.
Such a noble effort, and one of the many amazing programs and services that the Status of Women have been working on over there. How rewarding is it to be in an environment that is so aligned with your values?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly rewarding. This is a different kind of line of work for me recently. And a lot of personal shifts for me have happened in the last few years. So this really perfectly aligns with my values and my passion. So I'm feeling very privileged to sit on the team of the Women's Center and to be promoting this e-course to our community. Yeah, it feels really good.
I'm so happy to hear. And I'm going to ask you, you know, the subject of checking in has become so front row as an expression. We see it around in the promotional items related to this product and beyond. It's such an important evolution of how we are being reminded to look out for one another in society more than ever. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And the problem for decades with the topic of GBV, it has been largely dealt with behind closed doors. So that is, you know, the doors of shelters or women's organizations, women's centers, like the Women's Center. But we need to realize that we need to bring that issue out into the world. It is up to us. It's up to everybody in the community. We all have a role to play when it comes to ending GBV, and it really does affect everybody. You don't have to be necessarily being inflicted with violence or harassment or GBV, because it could be happening to somebody you care about. It could be happening to a family member, a friend, a coworker, someone out in your community. So we really do all have a social responsibility to do things like this, to build on our skills, strengthen our skill set and the tools that we carry out into the community. And if we don't do that, then it's going to be a problem.
I hear you. Well, it already is, and I think that programs like the e-course that has been put together is meant to really combat that. And combat is an interesting word choice, more like help to dissipate a reality that has been left undiscussed. And I'm so thankful that we are sort of in the moment of society where we are no longer hiding and tucking and denying conversations that need to be had, and we're normalizing conversations like the one around gender-based violence. I have to ask you, when it comes to the amount of time that someone would take or the amount of money someone would pay to do this e-course, what are your thoughts?
Interesting that you say that. This course is completely free. It's so free. It is very publicly accessible for people. And speaking of accessibility, it's as accessible as possible. So we have closed captioning options in the course. We have ASL interpretation embedded into it, and it's capable with screen reading technology. And like I said, it's free. It is not a large portion of your time. It will take less than 2 hours to do. It is completely self-paced, so you can start, stop, take breaks, come back to it a different day.
Right.
It is completely virtual. We're making it very easy for people to do this.
And I want everyone at home watching, considering the reality of interrelationship dynamics and checking in on each other, and also being sensitive to your own relationship. And not that we're seeking out issues, but we need to understand that when we hear of someone going through a challenging time, that there are things within this e-course that are very easy to do to help them or yourself. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And realistically, for the longest time, we haven't really been taught how to respond to GBV. It has been, a private issue or something that's, it's not our business, so we need to leave it alone. But it's imperative that we change that. We change that mindset, and that's what the e-course tries to do. It gives you those real-life examples. It shows you the facts and the myths of GBV. It shows you what signs to look for, and it encourages people to just check in. It could be literally as simple as a check-in, and that's really what we're trying to push with the e-course for sure.
I love that. I really appreciate the work that you and the amazing team are doing. I'm so thankful for the all-women crew that helped create every aspect, from Ruha and Teresa to Megan and Emily and beyond. So many powerful, incredible women took part in creating this e-course for everybody. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Will you come on again?
Absolutely, anytime.
And I guess the final moment is check in.
Yes, check in.
We will. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog, and I am so looking forward to hanging out with Cassandra and Nick, because this month of June coming is Brain Injury Awareness Month. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure to see you both.
Thank you.
And a little quick chat before we jumped into the actual live portion of our hang here. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to ask you about the association and some history on how it came to be.
Of course. So we were actually established back in 1984 by a group of concerned parents and caregivers of individuals who have suffered brain injuries. and there's just a lack of services provided for patients with brain injuries, unfortunately. So they formed the association to help bridge those gaps, and here we are today, still trying to bridge those gaps. We've come a long way, but there's still a long ways to go.
I bet, and ultimately I will tell you that I had not heard of this association before. Is it a Newfoundland and Labrador based, or is it national?
It is a Newfoundland and Labrador base.
Wow,
there
amazing.
is a national association as well, but we do service the province, yes.
That's incredible. What led you into this vocation?
So growing up, I've actually had experienced concussions, and unfortunately there is a lack of knowledge of what to do when you have a concussion and just what you should do and what kind of rehabilitation there is, even among medical professionals.
Wow.
So I was kind of left in the dark about what I should be doing, and I wanted to help people like me who are experiencing different injuries for sure.
That's amazing. That is such a noble motive, and I often wonder what leads people into different roles and responsibilities. So to hear that you have first-hand experience, to me that speaks of a passion that you really, you can't fake that. You lived it, and that's why it matters so much to you.
100%. I knew about the lack of services for individuals with concussion, so I wondered what was out there for brain injury survivors, people who've had much more severe injuries than me. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot more, so we hope to help with that for sure.
Well, I love it, and coming on the show is definitely hopefully going to reach a lot of people and have a lot of conversation around the subject. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you, to sit next to you and to hear your story leading into this hang today, it's inspiring, and it sounds like something that can happen to anyone at any time. Why don't you tell us your story?
Well, my story was I started in 03, so it was 19 years ago. I was in BC as an extra Victoria, to be exact. I was just doing a triathlon, so I wasn't with the team that day. I was with friends on the team, and we were cycling, and I forget the day totally now, but I started to avoid someone, and I hit a tree with the helmet on, and I was going downhill, and I was pretty good cyclist at that point, and I was going pretty quickly, and I flew off my bike and hit a tree and in a coma for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And a severe brain injury, so my parents and my sister were called to Victoria, and it's really trying for them. But yeah, and then came back here after 6 weeks in Victoria, came back to there's health sciences for a month, then 6 months or 5 months in the medical center, inpatient, then outpatient, and for a year and a half, and then so it was 2 years total. And then I was there, then I went back to Victoria, finished my master's, and then I did physio out there, and I came back here, and I got a job in Ottawa at Equitable Development Canada.
Wow.
And then I came back here for a year and a half working with the government here. And in 2010, I started officially started my blog, Concussion Talk. And then 2015, I started the podcast, Concussion Talk podcast, which is doing pretty well. And actually, Cassandra will be on for all of June. Cassandra and the Brain Injury Association will be highlighted for the whole month of June. She'll be doing the hosting responsibilities for the podcast.
No big deal.
No big.
You're ready. I want to thank you. And you know what? In meeting you and hearing this story, so many things come to my mind.
Yeah.
The wow of what occurred.
Yeah.
The compassion for what you had to go through in terms of recovery and all the different locations and facilities and people that you had to meet along the way, and what a journey that must have been. But then flip that into how you took the lemons and you created a podcast, you finished your master's, you've worked governmentally away and here, and you're moving the needle forward by connecting other people that have been through an incident that happened to you 19 years ago.
Yeah.
How proud are you?
I'm proud. I'm just like, I mean, I don't know to say that. I'm pretty proud of it. I mean, feel good. I like what I'm doing, and I feel confident I'm helping people. And
of course.
And I know and hear back from people, hear if not back from people, but people who are listening to podcasts and just have good things to say about it, and learn new things and learn new people who can help them, or new vocations that can help them, new thing, not that it's a health podcast, or it's not necessarily doctors, medical podcast, so it's science, and they could learn a lot of stuff, and think that love and a lot of connections have been made, so that makes me feel good.
And more to come, I'm sure.
Yes.
In our final minute, I want to ask, for June and beyond, what message, and I'll ask you first and I'll ask you then, what is the message that you want everyone viewing in tonight to walk away with?
I think it's really important to express that brain injury can happen at anywhere, at any point, to anyone. You're not necessarily going to be ready for it, but we're here and we're willing to help you through that process if you do ever encounter something such as that, for sure.
Amazing, that's very well said. And likewise, as we break, what is your message to everybody out there?
Just to learn to be appreciative of just different individuals having different abilities, and just to understand that, not basically, it sounds cliche and trite, but don't judge a book by its cover and all that stuff, but like just to be aware of different people have different skills and different abilities, like I just said, so it's repeating itself. But it's basically compassion, and although that sounds not very.
I think that's everything. Actually, no. I think that the more times we can remind people to be compassionate, not judge books by its cover, be sensitive, and to have pride in what we do, I think those messages need to be heard every second of every day. So thank you both for coming on.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Out of the Fog. Another amazing episode, the second last that I'll be doing this year before some Canada Day fun during the summer. Check out all these amazing volunteers that make it all happen here every week on Rogers TV, here and across the country, because it's all about local matters. Hashtag that. We'll see you guys next time.
If you have a comment about